Now, Vanja, of course, was on a recent podcast with Construction Week where she discussed with me about the system of numbers and quotas. And, to sort of incorporate gender diversity at the workplace, what companies are doing now is that they are doing it, but it's stemming from a place of maybe fear and pressure to reach certain numbers and targets, quotas, percentages. Now, I remember, Vanja, you'd mentioned that we have to change this perspective and it's important that we do. I would love to hear from all of you on this and kind of open the floor to further discussion. Should the process be more organic? Are we beyond the numbers yet? Should we be beyond the numbers? And just, what are your thoughts on this? Kathleen, let's start with you.
Yeah, and I'd be interested as to the differing views, because I've definitely got two different views. So I'm the head of the Middle East. I've done 2 terms on our global board, and I would be devastated if I thought I was only there to be a number and a tick in a box. However, I remember having this conversation with a group of colleagues, and I was expressing that view. And one of my colleagues said to me, "But Catherine, it's got to, there's got to be a break in that cycle somewhere." And we were talking about whether or not having quotas. And actually, I thought they're right. We need to kind of break that cycle. And I suppose. I keep thinking that I'm old. I am old. But probably my generation probably do need to accept that in order to break that cycle, we're going to have to embrace quotas or numbers, maybe. And I need to accept that I need to be one of those numbers. But I will only accept that, in my view, if there is a proper talent management program running parallel, so that the numbers or quotas are only for a short period of time, so that everybody is given a role because of their suitability for that role, rather than whether or not they're a man or a woman or a tick or not. So I suppose I flip-flopped in my view. I'd still be devastated if I thought I was only in it because I was a woman and to tick a box. But I think I have to take responsibility that if I'm going to help break the cycle, then I need to be part of the solution.
Interesting. So we're half-half. Gosia, let's have you weigh in on this as well. Do you agree with Kathleen that, the numbers and quotas, this very system is important to, then reach a point where we probably won't need these at all? And how has your experience with CallisonRTKL been?
I just want to mention that obviously there's no surprise that there is such a pressure. When we, specifically in the Middle East, where we look into the UAE development plans and Saudi 2030 vision, all those set up very aspirational goals for female to promote and to make them more visible. Not only in the construction industry, but across many other fields in culture, economics, and politics, right? So with such a pressure, there is no surprise that the organizations are, looking into numbers. I was, I guess, lucky enough that at CallisonRTKL, that was never the main priority. Yes, obviously someone is checking the numbers maybe at the background, but I have never felt, looking into the talent management and as a hiring manager, I never felt that I need to fulfill those requirements at any point. And it was always looking into finding the best person for the job. I am happy to say that within our group currently, there's probably 40 to 45% females, which is great. And again, they are there for the reason. They are talented, capable, skilled, and they are recognized for those achievements and should be recognized for those achievements rather than being a mother, a sister, or a wife. We want to make sure that they are recognized as architects, urban designers, and planners.
Great. Now, Kathleen, I'll move to you. Have you identified this as a problem as well? I don't know if it's too soon to ask, but how is the approach at WSP Middle East towards this?
Well, that's an interesting point. I'd probably just like to quickly first reflect on my own view on this. Certainly over the years, male colleagues have made a joke around me and said that I am the gender, ticking the box, which I obviously find quite sad, like Catherine, that we have to go through that. But when I first started in engineering, when I wrote my thesis about over 20 years ago, It was about encouraging more women to come into engineering. Very often we see women leaving engineering, design, architecture, these type of fields because they are having children, and at the same time they're reaching positions within the organisation where they may be managing teams, the expectation on mobility to travel. So often they're taking on all the pressures at the same time around about that sort of career level. So I think, again, it goes back to exactly what WSP are doing, which is allowing that flexibility, encouraging the working from home, encouraging line managers to basically trust their employees and their architects, their designers to do a good job, which of course they will. So it is a very difficult one, and I think I'm very, very similar to Catherine, that I really want things to change. We're still not seeing enough happening, and our clients are pushing us more to have more blended and diverse teams. Recently, I was working with an organisation in Abu Dhabi, and they actually commended us on the fact we were able to provide a team that is blended, because they want to see that in their own workforce. So they were asking us for advice as to how we were doing it. So it is very, very important that we do continue to push this, whether it's a metric, whether it's a policy, whether it's an enabler, a group, everything helps. And ultimately, I'd very much like to continue seeing an improvement in this space overall.
Right, wonderful. Bushra, I'll move to you now. What are your thoughts on this? Should the process be more organic, maybe?
Actually, I do agree with all of you what you said. I'm kind of divided also. I think, especially in engineering, which we know that we don't really have that many females. I mean, when I started, I graduated 20 years ago. I was like one of 6 of 126 students that actually studied engineering. So maybe in the talent pool, we don't really need to be a tick in the box anymore, because that's what we do in Cundall also. I mean, at the moment in my group, electrical engineering, I have 5 females out of 11, so which is 45%, which is a very refreshing thing to see. And it's all based on merit. It's not being like, just a tick in the box, but we do need to, because there's such an imbalance. So we need to make it somehow work out. So we don't, in the CVs, we don't really need to see male, female. You just judge it based on the talent itself. So, I mean, that's the way I see it. And things are changing. I do see that things are changing. I mean, we want to be in a position, as Gosia said, we are just engineers. I'm not a female or the first female. I want to be recognized as being a female engineer. Electrical engineer, not a female electrical engineer.
On that note, Bushra, I came across a very interesting test, which I'd like to kind of have you all go through now. It's called the Fink-Piner test. Now, for our viewers and the panel, this serves as a checklist that kind of discourages gender-specific depictions and stereotypical depictions of women in science, much like the Bechdel test for women in fiction. Now, I'd like to put this question to all of you. Let's say we have similar test for all the sectors that you belong to. Do you think, your sectors would pass a test like this? And are you satisfied with how each of you are represented in industry discourse? Maybe we can start with you, Vanja.
I'm this test. I'm not sure how well would we score, but as I mentioned earlier with my site story, I myself was biased, to some extent, and this is something that it's just embedded into all of us. I believe it's how we grow up. It's in the culture. It's in the surroundings, and it happens. But I think that it is improving, and that maybe touch up on your previous question as well. We all need collectively to work on it. Like I like what Catherine said, that if you want to solve a problem, you also need to be part of the solution. So we need to talk about it to boys and girls, to males and females, and we need to start erasing this female engineer from CVs, because how is it relevant to anything? But we also need to raise awareness that it's not about the numbers and the percentages and all of this. Let's say it helps in the beginning, and we need to take what we can. But I'm really hoping that one day we can see that the hiring will be for technical skill only, and not because it's mandatory. I'm hoping to see this day come, and I think we can achieve it.
Right. Kathleen, I saw you nod in agreement. And of course, this sounds like it is work in progress. Would you agree that, you know, we are headed in the right direction?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, would we pass the test? I doubt it. I'd hope that lawyers would have a little bit more of an appreciation of the need for balance. I don't think we're dire, but we're not stellar either. And I think the need for change and that what might mean that change is for us all to think that we have a responsibility for change.
Wonderful. And Kathleen, what are your views on this? What is WSP Middle East doing as well to kind of champion diversity and inclusion? Do you think your sector would pass a test like this?
Well, I think it really has helped with the gender neutral and inclusive language policy. And this is the first time I've ever experienced something like this. But actually, you arrive and on your induction, you go through and you look at various different words that you might be using and how they can actually be potentially taken in the wrong way or just, So I think that policy actually does help you reflect on your own biases and the way you use your own language. So it may not be the total fix or the plaster, but ultimately it starts to move you in a certain direction and be much more conscious yourself. So I think within our organisation, I think there's a huge drive towards, yes, achieving that, definitely, but it's more about the external, our clients and where we operate that also needs that. It can't just be in one area. It needs to be much broader than that.
Gosia, what are your views on this? Again, are we there yet? Are we headed in the right direction?
So again, I think there's a global perspective and there's a kind of local perspective. I think globally, I think we're there. And obviously, our CEO is a female, so that kind of, we have it all the way. But I think there are still challenges, obviously, and kind of the biases is still there, kind of on a regional level. I think what I want to mention is obviously, yes, we support a flexible working arrangement and so on. What I don't want it to be just for the females. I want it to be a kind of a general a way forward. Obviously, our male colleagues might be looking after the families as well. We want to make sure that there are opportunities created for everyone to generate the kind of working environment that works for all.
Wonderful. Now, moving on to you, Bushra, I'm going to go back to what you mentioned about wanting to be, noticed as an engineer and not as a female engineer. Do you think there's been a change in that over the years, or is our depiction still very gender specific? Do we talk about it differently?
No, I mean, I actually agree with all of you. I mean, it's getting there. I'm not sure if we'll pass the test, especially in the engineering, like the construction field, but we are definitely getting there. And I think as a company, for instance, in Cundall, we have rolled out as part of our sustainability roadmap a diversity and inclusion procedure. So we have actually set certain KPIs by 2025 where we want to actually reach.
Now, could each of you go over the past year, reflections of the past year, as well as your outlook for the coming year? Maybe, Kathleen, we could begin with you. What's the past year been like for Pinsent Masons?
Yeah, it's been, for me, I've noticed just how resilient, resourceful, and actually how very caring all of my colleagues have been. We've had a good year. I think as of yesterday, we're 10% ahead of where we were this time last year. So everybody has massively come together, like Kathleen mentioned at the beginning. We were agile workers very well before the pandemic. So everybody just took to it so well. Probably from a mindful business charter perspective, I might slightly worry that people have worked too hard and too much because there is a temptation. But I'm very proud of everything that my colleagues and team have done to kind of get through the year. Now,
Kathleen, it's been a rather exciting start to the year for you. Tell me more about your plans for 2021. What do you have in mind?
Well, I actually feel very excited because I've joined an organisation who actually had a very good year in 2020, even though there was a significant pressure, obviously, with the oil price dropping and COVID and a lot of the big projects being put on hold. WSP Middle East has actually come out very strong, which means I'm joining a growing operation, which is really, really exciting for me because it allows me to spend more time thinking about where I want to take certainly my side of the business going forward. So I'm actually very positive about 2021. I think we're very lucky to be in a region that's really can do. Certainly a region that has picked itself up many times before from economic slumps. So I think what we're going to see happening now is almost this euphoria of coming out and the excitement of putting some of those projects that were on hold back on again. And certainly if you look at what's going on, for example, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the fantastic tourist developments that are happening there, we've been involved so far already in looking at some of those opportunities, and that is very, very exciting for me. So I see the future as bright, and I'm very much hoping that I get to work on some of these new things going forward.
Gosia, a bright future for CallisonRTKL as well. Maybe you want to share what
I believe so, yes. I mean, the 2020 was obviously a challenging year, but I think we came up very strong, and I think it showed that we are a very agile and kind of resilient team. Obviously, technology played a significant role that allowed us to still collaborate effectively while working from home.
Vanja, you, of course, have been very busy working on the Expo 2020, just a lot around it at several pavilions. Do you want to tell us more? It seems like a very exciting year for both you and WME. Tell us more about what the year looks like.
Yeah, the expo is finally going to happen, hopefully. So it's always amazing to see one of your projects finally finished, and you can go and actually see it in full scale. Aside from UV Pavilion, it's very exciting. It's going to be very exciting on Expo for us because we have a few more. We have Luxembourg Pavilion, Emirates Pavilion, Austria Pavilion. So yeah, we've been quite busy there. Also, going back to 2020, it has been, a tough year. A lot of changes, a lot of new things to adapt to. We managed to look into, our company, internally more and, throw ourselves more into some things that, help us develop the business better and our engineers better. We've looked more into digitalization this year and research. We've strengthened these departments. This is something that was the main topic in 2020. We've also managed to keep ourselves busy and secure some major contracts for the next year. So it's looking good.
Wonderful. Now, putting that question to you as well, Bushra, what's that one takeaway from 2020 that you've gone into 2021 with?
Now, projects-wise, if I have to say, I feel quite lucky in Cundall that we call ourselves a niche consultancy, engineering consultancy. So it's quite different type of projects. Like, been working on an indoor roller coaster. We did a paint hanger for one of the airports, some embassy projects. So I've been quite lucky on technical side to be working outside the box, like thinking outside the box. So it's quite innovative, creative. And then there's a shift towards Saudi at the moment on the entertainment side, especially. So, which sometimes kind of engineering led, because most of the time, I think maybe you would agree with me, it's more architectural based. So here we are getting an opportunity to kind of engineer it, like engineering based, if that makes sense. Like that's the main core of the building or the services, and everything, falls with that. So I've been quite lucky to work on a few projects like that, which made us collaborate, think, create, be more creative.
Right.
So bright future, hopefully.
Definitely. And, as a concluding note, I'd like for all of you to very quickly tell me what that one Middle East construction project is that you're really looking forward to, shape up, and why, maybe. Yeah, let's start with you, Vanja.
Yeah, definitely would have to be the Expo. This is the most complicated, most project I've ever worked on, most challenging, and the one I've learned the most from. I've seen, the concept design of it, the detail design of it, the constructions, the side of it, and really was lucky to collaborate with the architectural company and their team of engineers, the Calatrava, who designed the pavilion. So it really has been a life-changing experience for me, and it helped me, grow as an engineer, grow my career, and get a lot of good things from it.
Great. Now let's get a finance and maybe managerial advisory perspective on this. Kathleen, do you want to go in on this as well?
Yeah, so for me, it's probably not so much the construction project, but more around some of the advisory work that I hope we'll be doing this year. And we've already been approached to complete a number of actual post-development reviews. So actually looking at some of the fantastic assets that have been built in Dubai and working out how we can make sure that they're still fit for purpose, that they've realised the benefits. So that really does excite me, because there's some fabulous things here, and there's all sorts of ways to make sure that they continue to generate long-term returns and value for the clients. And then also, of course, in Catherine's space, a huge amount of focus on PPPs at the moment and bringing the private sector further in, and how do we incentivize the private sector. And of course, the PPP value chain is very long, going all the way from pre-feasibility studies all the way through to structuring the deals and the consortiums, right the way through to actually that contract management. And very interestingly, some of my UK colleagues who've been on that journey for a very long time are already starting to talk about lessons learned from actually handback of those PPP projects started a very long time ago. So lots of new and exciting stuff in that space that I'm hoping to get my hands on.
Wonderful. Catherine, how about you?
I've probably got some personal ones. So two for me buildings that represent my time in Dubai. So when I arrived, number one, Zabeel was just starting, and I drive through the two buildings every single day. So watching that come up and the movement of the gantry between the two is super exciting. So I'm watching that one. The other one that I'm watching from the office is the Museum of the Future. I get super excited when they turn the lights on at night, and they're still working on it, and only a little bit of light, and I keep taking photos when it goes on. So for me, those probably personally are the two that I'm just watching, because I feel like I'm growing with them in my time in Dubai. But yeah, the Saudi giga projects that we've been involved in are very cool, and we just started doing some work on Qadir and just on the amusement entertainment centre. So there's lots of very cool things here, actually. Definitely. Very exciting.
Great. Now, Gosia, how about you? What are you most excited about?
Well, you mentioned the giga projects in KSA, and obviously the line has been announced earlier this year by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia as part of the NEOM development. I think this is really exciting news, and I'm sure many of us have watched it already. I think the debate about the car-free environment has been on in the planning industry for a while, but I think it was never really brought to reality in Middle East just yet. So I'm really looking forward to see how this is going to be executed.
Great. Bushra, any specific projects that you're looking forward to most?
From Cundall side, there is I think I mentioned it before, there's this indoor roller coaster, which I can't really name where it is, but it's something we are quite excited to get it going. And I think I have to steal your Museum of the Future. I love that building, and it's so goes with with the culture and everything, and that building is amazing. And one other which I've been actually seeing kind of building in front of my eyes is the Dubai Eye, and I would like to see that going some point. And I think it's almost there. So it's almost there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies. It was wonderful having you all on this panel. And on that very constructive note, I am going to leave you with a quote that should get you thinking. This is by artist and NASA recruiter Nichelle Nichols. She said about science, and I think it should apply to all of the sectors that we've discussed today. She'd said that it's not a girl's game. It's not a boy's game. It's about where we are and about where we're going. Now, where we are, where we are going, and whether there would be any roadblocks, we'll find out along the journey. But I think a conversation, of course, is a great start. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today. It was lovely shattering stereotypes with you all, and a very happy International Women's Day to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that was all for me. Thank you for watching, and to our viewers as well for tuning in to Construction Week's first panel discussion.